Georgia had issues with health this year in 2023, and they had issues with depth at the running back position because, at least for the first couple months, they couldn't keep Daijun Edwards and Kendall Milton out there on the field at the same time. Milton missing more time than Edwards did. Edwards missing the first couple games. Roderick Robinson, another scholarship running back, a freshman, he missed some time with an ankle injury. Branson Robinson missed the entire season with a ruptured patellar tendon. And, right there at the beginning of the season, Georgia found itself with a running back problem. Now, Daijun Edwards, Kendall Milton, when they were out there, they played pretty well. And I'd argue that so did Roderick Robinson, so did Cash Jones. But the running backs for Georgia and running backs in general over the course of the sport are being devalued a little bit. For Georgia, it's very, very easy to see how it's changed because of how running backs used to be the centerpiece of the offense. And I'm not saying that that'll never happen again. A running back could come along and totally be a superstar. It happens. But does Georgia center an offense around Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley, Sony Michel, the way it has in the past, DeAndre Swift? It feels like, and this is not an attack on these running backs, but it feels like over time the running back position for Georgia has just gotten a little bit worse. It felt like there was a step down and a step down. You had after those guys, you had James Cook and Zamir White, NFL running backs. Obviously, Zamir White scoring a touchdown on Thursday night, contributing to that 63-point beatdown, a 63-point, whatever you want to call it. The Raiders, Zamir White had a touchdown the other day. Now, in 2024, what's it going to look like? I think Branson Robinson, we don't know what he will be after his injury. It was actually, and I'm sure I said this to you guys earlier in the offseason this year, probably back in the spring of 23. I think that if I didn't publicize this, then I might as well do it now. I thought that Branson Robinson was going to be the best running back in Georgia's backfield this year. I just thought he had an opportunity to break out. I thought he was going to get touches, especially with the position getting rotated more and more, right? Even when you saw Milton and Edwards were both healthy, they split time pretty evenly. And they went out there and they split carries, somewhat evenly. And production, because look, I'm making this video under the assumption that Daijun Edwards and Kendall Milton are gone, that they go to the NFL. And if that's the case, that's 157 carries, 819 yards, and 11 touchdowns from Daijun Edwards that are gone. And that's 112 carries, 686 yards, and 12 touchdowns from Kendall Milton that are gone. So we're talking about 23 total touchdowns, like 1,500 rushing yards. That's what needs to be replaced. It's not going to be Cash Jones. I'm just going to sit here and say it right now. Like I'm talking about running backs that are on the roster. It won't be Cash Jones. I don't think Roderick Robinson is going to ever be a lead. I don't know. She doesn't seem like a lead back to me. And maybe, I don't mean that in a personal way. But he, to me, I think would work perfectly for Georgia as a complementary power back. And I think that he has an opportunity to have that role with the personnel. Branson Robinson, I think, has the most potential to break out. Obviously, there are shades of Nick Chubb in Branson Robinson's game. He is his own running back. I think in 2022, when we got to see him, when he had his 5 yards of carry, his 330 yards, his 3 touchdowns, his game against Auburn was impressive. There were plenty of runs where I was like, whoa. And as good of a running back Daijun Edwards was for Georgia, again, assuming that he is gone, that has not been announced yet officially, he wasn't this... There weren't that many just giant explosive plays, home run hitting plays. He made plenty of very, very good plays. But it feels like he maybe does not have the big play potential that a Branson Robinson might have, that Kendall Milton showed a couple times in 2023. And Georgia's got some other running backs coming in, but I think Branson Robinson's probably the centerpiece of the backfield for the next year. Ryan Curley from Dawg here talking about Georgia's running backs, looking ahead to next season at this running back position, a position Georgia, if you're somehow just tuning into this part of the video, a position that Georgia struggled to keep healthy this year, to have depth. And I think that, and it's going to show even more. It's going to show even more now. You hear it? A very, very, very relevant tangent here. Depth is going to matter even more in college football than it did before with the transfer portal, with how volatile the situation is. Is a guy going to stay for 3-4 years? Is a guy going to leave? If this school, this community offers him more money, is he just going to bounce after his sophomore year? All of a sudden, you've got to replenish. You've got to replace. It's hard to replace culture. It's hard to replace people in a system. And why does Georgia win national championships? Why does Alabama win national championships? Well, there are a lot of reasons. One of the big ones being they're just deep. And they have 3-4 deep at different positions that are really, really good. And we saw this year that Georgia didn't have as much depth at the running back position when injured, at least for a very high level of talent. And even so, Kendall Milton and Daijun Edwards did not play this season 100%. They didn't play this season 100%. There are two kids coming in this 24 class that they seem like they're going to be pretty good football players. Nate Frazier, out from California, he's a top 3 running back in this class. It kind of seems like that's a consensus on him. I was looking at some numbers. He's got speed, he's got size, right? A little bit under 6 feet, over 220 pounds. Or over 200 pounds, right? So he's a little bit more like Branson Robinson. I think he's arguably faster than Branson Robinson. So I think Nate Frazier is a name that you should be excited for coming in. All I've seen are highlights. And then this next guy, Matt and Dean, I have not seen Dwight Phillips Jr. play in person. I did not get to. I guess the high school season's over now for Georgia. But what they told me and what they told you guys was that he had Arian Smith type of speed. And is Dwight Phillips Jr. a future 3-down back for the Georgia Bulldogs? Probably not. Can he be a weapon that Georgia created out of the backfield this year? I mean, would James Cook not have changed everything for Georgia, having a guy like that out of the backfield? I think you even saw with Kenny McIntosh how much he mattered for Georgia. How having a back that can be dynamic, a back you can trust to hand the ball off to, a back that you can trust, or not a back that you can not only trust, but endorse, hey, we need to get this guy the ball out of the backfield. Maybe Dwight Phillips can be that. I mean, is he a James Cook? I don't know. I hadn't seen him play. But from the speed, from what I've heard, he's got real track speed. And give me 1 second here. I have his track numbers pulled up that were surprising to me. Or maybe surprising is not the word, but pay attention to this. I'm reading this about Dwight Phillips Jr. Ran several sub-11 second 100-meter times as a sophomore in the spring of 2022. Won the Georgia 7A 100-meter state title with a 10.43. Also posted times of 10.44, 10.46, and 10.49, according to MileSplit. In 2021, when he was a sophomore, he primarily played running back, got some snaps at receiver. So his sophomore year, he had 12.5 yards per carry. 7 touchdowns in 8 games. 2 receiving touchdowns, a return touchdown. This guy is a home run hitter. What Georgia didn't have out of the backfield, it felt like, except for Kendall Milton, those 2 plays, and Daijun Edwards, that 1 play against Vanderbilt, was a home run hitter. And only 1 out of those 3 plays was a home run actually landed there at the end. Georgia needs a guy like that. Dylan Bell needs touches. Dylan Bell proved that he needed touches. And Kirby Smart doesn't just say this about anyone when he said the NFL is looking for guys like Dylan Bell. Is Dylan Bell Deebo Samuel? Not quite. Deebo Samuel, he's one of the most dynamic playmakers in football, in the NFL. He's thicker. I'd have to see his straight line speed between he and Dylan Bell. I think Dylan Bell is certainly fast and athletic. That's another guy that they know I can't believe that it took me almost 9 minutes to bring up the fact that they had Dylan Bell in the backfield. He was the 3rd leading rusher. And he had the 4th amount of carries. Let's not count Carson Beck. He had the 4th amount of carries, 1 fewer than Andrew Paul's garbage time carries. Right? And I didn't mention Andrew Paul because I got to see a little bit more from him coming off of the ACL. A lot of people over the course of the year, and especially at the beginning of the year, where's Andrew Paul? Where's Andrew Paul? Well, Andrew Paul would be out there if Georgia felt like he should be out there, was just my response. Whatever hype we heard about him in the summer of 22 when he was possibly doing better than Branson Robinson ahead of the season. that kind of goes away after the ACL. And so Andrew Paul is a new running back in that sense, and he was essentially a freshman this year. So two guys that were in year one, Roderick Robinson and Andrew Paul, they should be behind Branson Robinson, but look for those freshmen to get on the field one way or another, because who gets on the field are guys that can make plays for Georgia. And I think that from what I have read, what I have seen, what I have heard, Nate Frazier and Dwight Phillips Jr. could both be contributors to this football team, possibly immediately, especially if there is a depth issue at running back, and especially if, all three of your, or if two of your three, top guys, and let's say that's Branson Robinson and Andrew Paul, have some injury history. So yes, I think that Georgia's running back room, will it be better in 2024? Maybe so. And part of why I think it could is because I think Branson Robinson's the real deal. I think this guy could be a really good running back for Georgia. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. That was a little breakdown of what Georgia's running back room might possibly be. Didn't talk about Trevor Etienne because not sure if he's coming to Georgia or not at this point, and I don't think we should speculate. I don't think we should speculate on that. Thanks for watching.